Ciao tutti! I am so excited for you to join me on this journey of gratitude stories, where I gather stories of others who have had gratitude expressed face to face, how it's made a difference in their life. You can make a difference every single day expressing gratitude. Join me on this journey. Don't wait to express gratitude today.
Ciao a tutti. I'm KP Speaks, and I am super excited because for our gratitude story today, I have Sarah Godfrey here. She's from Soul Spark Movement. And Sarah, will you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Yeah. So I'm Sarah, and I do life coaching, and I incorporate movement therapy into my life coaching. I am a registered somatic movement therapist and a certified Laban Bartini of movement analyst and a yoga teacher. So I have a lot of training in body movement, but it goes beyond just like knowing about how the body works. I have a lot of training on knowing how what's inside you is manifested through the way you move. And so I help people get themselves unstuck through what I teach them about movement so they can learn that they have options, that they're not stuck in their one way of being, that they already have all the options available to them.
I think that is so important, and I absolutely love Sarah, just to let you guys know. I was introduced to Sarah through my yoga therapist, actually, Soraya Hoffman. And Soraya always talked about Sarah, this movement therapist. And I was always wondering, who is this Sarah? And I found Sarah through Instagram. As I started watching her videos and learning from Sarah, I was completely dumbfounded at her knowledge and also at her ability to not just connect to her own body, but to help others be able to release a lot of emotions that maybe are trapped inside of you, or just the ability to release stress and release feelings. It can be positive or negative feelings, and she allows you to learn how to connect to your body and to your mind, your spirit, your soul. And so it's not just, a lot of these gratitude stories I share on LinkedIn, which is a very professional space, but you'd be surprised how much you guys store in your bodies when you're at work. And a lot of your uh, body movement and the way you hold yourself says a lot about who you are, and also it can help you with releasing. Am I right, Sarah?
Yes, 100%. All movement is expressive.
Okay.
100, like all the time. The way you carry yourself, the way you sit, the way you stand, walk, you're always expressing something. And what you believe about yourself and your place in the world and what's important to you and what you feel and what you think and just everything you do is expressive with your body. Yeah. And so I teach people how not just releasing things, but changing the way they are moving through life to change how they're living.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if somebody who was, let's say, in the corporate world wanted to be coached by you,
Mm-hmm.
what would be one of the number one things that you would want to teach them or start them with?
Um, I help them become aware of what they're doing.
Okay.
Yeah. I always start with breath and with just being aware, like, of how you're carrying yourself. What are you doing with your spine? And just start to get into like, what does that mean for you personally? What is that telling you? My hope is that I can help people believe good things about themselves. And that's so useful in the corporate world because when you believe good things about yourself and you're open to others, it changes how you're showing up and it changes the work that you're putting out there.
I think that what you're saying is completely 100% true. And what I always say is when you're at work sometimes 8, 12, 14 hours a day.
Yeah.
So whatever you learn or you do at work ripples into every part of your life. And I also believe, though, we have, this will be on Instagram as well, and a lot of those on Instagram tend to be moms or stay-at-home moms, or and so the same kind of thing where they're right. Am I right? Or
Yeah. Yeah.
the way you carry yourself. If you're, I used to always have my shoulders hunched over, very closed, almost as if I don't belong here. It's not,
Yeah.
I don't know, just really protecting my heart. And I don't get to have the space that I deserve, in a way.
Yeah.
And then I started learning to breathe, as you said, and start living, and also, learning to speak better. And I mean, I meet with executives, I meet with people who are really, in the high end, in the C-suite, we would say. And now I feel completely comfortable and confident to do so as a mompreneur. How could I ever feel that before? If I was hunched over, they wouldn't even give me the time of day. But it's because I believe in myself. And a lot of that came from movement and breathing and, finding my center. And that all was definitely connected to my body and my breath. So how did you personally start on this, how did you get to be a movement therapist?
Yeah. Well, it's been a very windy trail. But I studied dance when I was at university. And while I was there, I had an eating disorder. And started going to therapy for that. While I was in recovery, I had to take a class called somatics. Somatic just means being aware of your felt experience in your body. And so for me, it was a really big healing piece, just to reconnect with my body. But then it also taught me to think of movement in a bigger way, because before it had always just been an art form, or exercise that I did. But I started to, because of that class, I started to notice the corrections I was getting from my teachers, all my dance professors. They were basically telling me to take up more space all the time. Stretch, use your long legs, like raise your eyes, put energy in your fingertips. I was imploding on myself. And it was showing up in how I was moving. And so I just had this very slowly, this realization was like, I bet I can teach myself to be more comfortable taking up space just as a whole person by changing how I'm moving. So I challenged myself to start stretching my legs, using them, raising my eyes, looking at people, letting myself be seen, seeing them. And over time, it changed what I really believed about myself and how comfortable I was taking up space emotionally and mentally as well. And so since it was such a huge piece in my healing journey, that I was like, I am going to do this someday. And I knew what I wanted to do, but nobody was doing it. And so I've gotten training that other people have done, but I've taken it in my own path and the way that I want to help people.
I love that. I think that's a true gift. A lot of times people just go on a different path or just follow what everyone else is doing. And I think taking from the experts and pulling the best of everything and then using your gifts that you personally have and being able to use that to help others, I think that's really amazing. And it's also a true risk. I mean, you're like, I know this can help people and I'm going to just put it out there and do it. And I think you do it very well.
Thank you.
Well, being that this is Gratitude Story, I wanted to ask you what role gratitude has in your own life.
Gratitude has saved me. And this is not a story I share like a ton. A few people know this. I mean, I have shared it, but I haven't shared the gratitude piece in it. For 4 years, my husband and I wanted to have kids, and we couldn't. I kept on losing pregnancy after pregnancy. And we lost a baby boy when I was about halfway through my pregnancy. And the grief and everything, it just knocked me down. And I didn't have hope because we found out I had a birth defect in my uterus. Like, it was like, I might never have kids. And that's all I had lived for, you know? That's all I really wanted, was to be a mom and to be able to have my own children, biological children. And so I was all of a sudden not only just dealing with the grief, but the fact that, like, I might never get that dream. And so I started, like, gratitude was my lifeline at that point in my life. That's when it really became like a practice for me. You know, I used to, like, say thank you for things, but as far as, like, really deliberately trying to find the good in my life to help me get through, not knowing if I'd ever get out, like, if it would ever end, you know, it's saved me. That's when I learned how to become a truly happy person. That I honestly thought of myself as a happy person was when I was in, like, that horrible time of my life. And it's because of gratitude.
That is so beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
So have you ever had someone express gratitude to you in a way that changed or inspired you? And was it ever face to face? Can you remember a time?
Oh, face to face is harder for me. I know for sure I have been given lots of emails and lots of thank you cards and lots of messages. And those mean so much to me. They often come at a time when I'm like, I don't know if this is doing any good. I got an email last night, actually. You know, and when I was like, because I'll have those moments where I'm like, this is really hard because I'm forging my own path.
Yeah.
And then I got an email saying, like, thank you so much. Here's how this thing you did touched me and changed me. And like, I would still do what I'm supposed to do without those thank yous. But it's just, it, like, gives me strength, you know. It's easier for me to pick myself up when I've been having a hard time. When I know, like, if one person has been touched, then it makes it worth it. It makes it worth all the hard. And I know I've been thanked in person, but I can't remember any off the top of my head right now. The one that's sticking out to me is just, like, that email that I got because it was just last night when I was, like, feeling a little discouraged.
Yeah.
I
find that maybe face to face, maybe it's harder to remember because we're caught in the moment so quickly and it catches us by surprise. But it is, I launched a pilot study in June, and it is the number one thing that people want to feel appreciated is a face to face thank you, but very sincere and genuine, not just a great job, Sarah. You know, it's really like, Sarah, I love what you do. And, you know, in fact, one of the videos that I watched you do recently, you allowed everyone to watch you do some of your yoga, and it's all silent, so you can't hear it, but I could see that you were truly mourning and letting out a lot of emotion. And as I watched that video, I want to tell you, Sarah, thank you for that, because it gave me permission to express extremely hard and loud emotion, because I saw that you were struggling and you allowed us all to see that. And so what I love about you, Sarah, is that you give me that space and that place to know that it's okay to express really hard and deep emotions. And then I even mentioned it, I was like, what do you do if you can't express those emotions? Where do you go? And you messaged right back. You said, you know, you are approachable, you're there, you're ready to answer if someone needs you. And so I appreciate that about you. And so the last question I have for you, our time is always short when I do these gratitude stories. That way people will actually watch to the end. But my last question for you is, if you could have anyone in front of you right now, anybody in the entire universe, who would it be and what would you thank them for?
There's so many people that come to mind, but the one that is most prominent in my head is I had an institute teacher. His name was Scott Anderson. So institute is just like a midweek religion class for young adults. But he had already like really touched my life when I was a teenager. I'd heard him speak. And so I like made it a point to go to the classes that he taught when I was in college because I loved hearing from him so much. But there was one day, I'm going to tell the story and then I'll tell you.
Okay.
There was one day, it was like when I was not okay. It was before I'd asked for help for my eating disorder and the depression and the anxiety that I was experiencing. And no one knew how much I was hurting. I went and sat in his class and he got up in front and he said, I have to put my lesson plan away today because some of you have beliefs about yourselves that are making you unhappy. And we need to talk about that. And he just spoke all the things that I needed to hear. And that was the turning point for me on my healing journey. It's like why I started learning to love myself. And so I would say, Brother Anderson, thank you so much for speaking the truth that I needed to hear. There's a quote that says, you never forget a person who brings you a torch in the dark. And you were that person for me. And thank you for speaking the truth that I needed to know, that why I was so unhappy wasn't because something was wrong with me, but because I just believed that there was something wrong with me. That's what I would say.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I feel extremely honored to have you as a guest on Gratitude Stories. And I know that people have been inspired by not just your heartfelt gratitude to your institute teacher, but also for being possibly for the first time introduced to the ability to use your body to free either emotions or to speak for you when you don't need to speak. And so how can they find you? Where can they go if they want to be able to have you either as their coach or to learn from you?
Yeah. So I'm most active on Instagram. It's at Soul Spark Movement. I also have a website, soulsparkmovement.com. I have a podcast. It's Soul Spark with Sarah Godfrey. I use that word a lot. But that is where you can find me and hopefully get access to some great healing tools. Yeah.
Great. Well, I will definitely include those links on with this video. So thank you so much, Sarah. And I think you are amazing.
You too. Thanks so much.
Okay. Have a great day.
Okay, we'll see you.